Welcome to the Scrub Scraps podcast. I am Joe Aguirre. He is the CEO, founder, and the heartbeat of Scrub Scraps, Mr. Jared Jones. Jared, we're back.
Yes, sir. Glad to be back, buddy.
Yeah. Now, reason why we're back, there's an event coming up and we want to talk about it. We're also going to talk. There were a couple of controversial decisions at our event back in November, and we love USA boxing so much. They're wonderful. However, the we'll get into it, but we're going to talk to the guy who absolutely got robbed by every account. I've got the receipts. I've got video evidence to prove it. Mohamoud Benamoor is going to be here a little bit later on in the show, and we'll get to the bottom of that. His fight with Mark Solis was the main event, and it had been such an amazing afternoon. Again, there were a couple of there were a bunch of stoppages which we didn't see back at Scrub Scraps the Revival, and so it was such a great afternoon of amazing matches, Jared. And I know we're going to do it again. Maybe just a quick recap of Scrub Scraps 2.
Well, a couple of those from Scrub Scraps 1 and Scrub Scraps 2 are coming up on the card for Scrub Scraps 3, which I'm super excited to see these kids again. The Elijah Garcias and the Jose Rosarios. And I mean, we're already developing kind of a fan base for some of these fighters right here in Coventry. So it's a beautiful thing.
Scrub Scraps 3, Bout Time. Love it. March 30th. That had to be you, 2 to 6
Yeah,
p.m.,
you already
Coventry High
know.
School. Yeah. Where did that one come from? Has
I,
that
you
been has
know,
that been in the works? Was that one you're like,
I've been brewing them since we started. They they come to me. The one I wish I'd come up with before I named 3 through 6 was ringleaders. Ringleaders. So Scrub
yeah.
Scrap 7 is going to be ringleaders. But yeah, those are always popping in and out, and yeah, I'm working something I work on.
Scrubscraps.org, by the way, is the place where you can purchase your tickets for this event again, March 30th, 2 to 6, Coventry High School, Scrub Scraps 3, Bout Time. You want to get into it? You want to start the
Let's do it.
unveil, and we'll talk about these matchups. I'm so excited for this. Be doing some play-by-play. And this time around, each of these broadcasts, we've sort of evolved a little bit more and, kind of buying time in between the fights. So we're going to actually spend some time, hopefully, if things go right with the fighters in between fights. So that will be something to look forward to. But let's get into it. Here we go. Scrub Scraps 3, Bout Time.
So this Elijah Garcia kid, he fought at Scrub Scrubs 1. He's now 2-0. He is dynamite. Just a fireball, man. 13 years old, 85 pounds, undefeated. The kid he's fighting, though, the only thing I know about Kamari Kemp is that thing right underneath it, Manchester Rock. And when
Yep.
these kids fight out of Manchester Rock, they spar hard. They fight. They're fighters. They get after it. So the 2 and 3, I'm sure this is a fight anybody anywhere kind of kid. Just being out of Manchester Rocks. And so I'm really excited about that first one to kick off. Second fight, Nina Blue from Blue Boy Boxing has been a great help. She's part of USA Boxing. Her kid, another Elijah, this one Gonzalez, is fighting another kid out of Manchester Rock, so you know he's going to be tough, Diego Funes. And then we have 3 UConn students, one of them making their debut, and rounding out the prelim card is a couple of 200 pounders there, Noah and John. So I'm excited
Whoa.
about that. Both 19 years
Yeah.
old and 201. That ought to be exciting. Rounding out the prelim now, Caden fought on it as Scrub Scraps 2. It's one of those controversial decisions we had. And it could have gone either way. When I say controversial, it wasn't one of those where I had a clear winner.
It wasn't the Benamoor Solis fight
No,
where
no.
you're like, what? This was one of those where, yeah, either way you were like, yeah, they both fought well. It was a pretty even matchup. You could live with the decision either way.
Oh yeah. And all of those kids out of Central City Boxing really got after it. Like every time you saw Central City Boxing, you knew you were going to get a banger. So that whole red corner side, all of those kids are going to show up to fight. This will be our first round. The Private Jewels didn't make it to the second one. So this is our first time seeing Nick Blitz. He's got 15 fights. 2 more from Blue Boy. And one of my favorites, this kid was, I don't know, large. I don't know if he was 250, 300 pounds. He fights at 155. Jose Rosario out of Whaling City Boxing. This is a great gym, great kid. Ronnie Danino. Shout out to the head trainer, great guy. And this Rosario kid has had maybe 4 or 5 fights scheduled that fell through. And the only fight he's had to date was at Scrub Scraps 1. So he's coming back, Scrub Scraps 3, after a physical metamorphosis. Jose Rosario, and he may be our Scrub Scrap spotlight next week.
Oh, love it. As I remember him from Scrub Scraps 1. Yeah, terrific fighter. Great hands. Was disappointed that he wasn't in number 2. I remember you saying, couldn't get him a matchup. So nice to see. Man, Central City Boxing too, though. They definitely represent. If I remember correctly, last time they had one of their guys lose a tight decision, and my brother went over and told the guy.
It was Caden. Right at the top
was Caden.
Of the card there.
Right. Yeah. Okay. See, I remember that. Yeah. And I'll tell you, just watching the way everybody rallied around Caden from Central City Boxing, I think just kind of goes to prove Jarosuro what Scrub Scraps is all about,
It's all the things that I say repeatedly about boxing. They go in there alone. It's one-on-one. The kid is your size, your skill level, and you find out a lot of things about yourself. They come there as a team. They leave as a team. Central City, that's also where Dean Fay is who I rent the rings from. When we rent the ring for the shows, They come from Central City Boxing in Springfield. So these kids show up to fight, and the team, like you said, the team atmosphere, there were 20, 30 people there lifting that kid up and telling him he fought a great fight. So Central City, man. Awesome gym. Yes, sir.
All right, let's get a look at our main card.
Oh, here come 4 ropes. Our first female fight, Adrian Rivera and Jalou Owens from, again, Blue Boy Boxing. That should be a good matchup. 5-4 versus 4-2. Panzotti fought at Scrub Scraps 1 out of 4 ropes. Curtis Coleman, this will be our first time seeing any of Jordan Kennis's guys from Mamba Boxing. But he's matched up against 6-4 from Private Jewels. Another Central City kid. And Victor Billups Jackson from Gifted Hands is, I believe, 5-2. And he'll be taking on Mohamoud Benamoor, who is 9-5 in the main event and who is also our Scrub Scrap spotlight. Ladies and gentlemen, for my scorecards, the greatest fighter on a card in Scrub Scraps history. We've now done 66 events and had over 250 fighters. And for me, this is the best fighter who ever fought at Scrub Scraps. How you doing today, Mohamoud?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
Absolutely, my friend. So I do have a question.
Yes.
What's your let's start with what is your amateur record?
So I'm pretty sure I'm like 9-5 or either 8-4. I'm pretty sure, but
So 9-5.
Yeah, there's a couple of because I had fought Chad Dawson Jr. once in at the casino, and I won in the ring and everything, but I guess they changed it to a loss later on, like a week later, which is crazy. But yeah, so I don't know if that's a win or a loss technically, but I take it as a win because I won in the ring and it's on my passport as a win. I don't know, but
all right. So
right.
So if we say 9-5, that's where my question's brewing from. I saw the Solis fight.
Right.
You fought Chad Dawson twice. Funny, beat him in Danbury and lost at the casino. And this is Chad Dawson's son.
Right.
So I'm looking at this. Axel Lopez, undefeated, made it to 9-0 before he took a loss. Tim Higgins and split decision. Did you lose any of these fights, Mohamoud?
I could probably take one of those as like a real loss, but the other ones you can watch them and it's pretty clear that they don't like me or something.
Yeah, Mohamoud, what is it about you, do you think, or are you just fighting guys that you're not supposed to be beating up and you're beating them up and then you don't get, like, what is that?
Yeah, so I don't know. Honestly, like, I don't know. So I think some of the refs probably have it out for me. Some of the refs kind of like me, but it's that middle ground of not knowing, you know. And I'm also new to boxing, so like a lot of people don't know me, and then I just come in there and then go crazy, and then they don't really like that, I guess.
Now, I mentioned when the show started, in Scrub Scraps 2, you fought Mark Solis, who got deducted a point in that fight.
Right.
You battered him. I think you standing 8 counted him just before the fight ended, and with the point deduction, I called the fight with my brother, and we were certain that we were about to see the biggest upset in Scrub Scraps history, as far as I'm concerned. And Jared had the misfortune of having to be the guy to read that decision, and it seemed to me, outside of Solis and his camp, nobody saw that. Nobody felt that was the right decision. How did you feel you did in that fight?
So honestly, the first round I felt like I won. I felt like I landed more, and I felt like he couldn't touch me, and he hit me with anything significant at least. And then the second round, for sure, I felt him getting more frustrated, and I felt that gap getting bigger. And then obviously the third round, I hit him with the standing 8 count, and then he got a point taken away for trying to hit me as the fight ended. So yeah, this is pretty clear and pretty obvious. But I had Popeye Richie Rivera in my corner for that fight. And he knew like right away. He was like, hey, if you don't knock this kid out, you're most likely not going to win, you know? So it has to be
how frustrating is that?
Yeah, it's pretty frustrating, but I mean, I come in here just to fight, you know. I don't care who's across the ring. I don't care what the scenario is or anything like that. All the politics, I just come and fight. And when I go pro, everyone will see that the work is there.
You know, it's funny. My brother and I, in commentating, talked about a lot of the times when you're fighting a champion, you have to, you know, maybe you got to take the guy out. Maybe you literally have to knock the guy out. But you definitely have to outfight the guy. And then the guy gets a point deduction and there's a standing 8. And it's like, I don't know that this dude could have done any more short of knocking Solis out cold. You battered him for most of the fight. I mean, it's got to be frustrating to know you did everything you could, and that was the end result.
I mean, everything's better in hindsight now that like I can get over it, but in the moment I was definitely frustrated. I definitely went to flip some tables and stuff, but I couldn't do that obviously. So it's like the only thing that really clicked in my head is when Tyson Fury fought Ngannou, and that's all I kept saying is this is Francis Ngannou, like, you know, it's like the same thing. Like, that's the only thing that ran through my head. And I'm like, wow, this is not right.
Yeah, I remember you saying that to me after the fight. I walked over and said I gave you all 3 rounds, and then we had an 8 count and a point deduction. And if that's a pro fight, that's 30 to 25.
Yeah, pretty significant.
How,
Yeah.
like, it's only 2 3-pointers, but still, I don't think I think they missed on that one for sure. Yeah, and looking at all the split decisions. So which is the loss you claim?
So I'll take the loss that I fought in Brooklyn, Connecticut. That one I'll say that was a real loss because I came in there too aggressive and I pushed the guy on the ground. I lost a point and just fought really kind of stupid, like in a little too aggressive. But it was still a split decision loss and I lost a point. So if I didn't lose that point, obviously.
Yeah. That's funny how you end up with most fighters, you go through the blemishes, and you can find out who they are. And when I go through yours, I see somebody who, easily could have a loss or two. If you're 12-2, I'm not saying boo about it. That's probably more accurate than
Right.
the 6-5 that I'm looking at on BoxRec,
Right.
Which I know is 9-5. They BoxRec only gets a certain amount of the fights, the amateur fights.
Yeah, I know there's a couple of them on there, a couple wins that are not on there.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
They're on my books, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, Mohamoud, is that what you're when you go out and you fight? I mean, what are you looking for at the end of the fight? Do you want to have a sense of you did your best, you won the fight? What is your mindset?
So I mean, like obviously everybody wants to fight. I'm not going in there as a sheep just to get beat up, but obviously I want to win, make sure that I win. But obviously I've just started fighting last year and I had racked up all those fights in 1 year. So like I've seen and I've been to a lot of places where I see a lot of people get robbed. I see the politics behind it. And I just didn't expect that from me personally in the amateur as much, but it's definitely there. And it's like very prevalent, so you gotta in my head, once I finished that fight, like I was mad in like the first like 30-45 minutes, but then when I really thought about it and I really watched it and I sat there and I'm like, hey, look, that guy knows I won, so he knows I beat him, so that's all that's got to sit with me.
That was always my answer to that question, Joe, was don't have anybody who saw it want to have been the other guy.
Right.
If I get to pick at the end of the fight, and when they handed me that ran the decision, that ran through my head. Is there anybody in this room right now that will claim they would have rather been Mark Solis than Mohamoud Benamoor for the last 10 minutes? And they're find me that person. 3 of them just said it. I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's the same way. I could give you guys another example. I was there at the Golden Gloves this year, and I was like maybe like 10 minutes late, and I come into the weigh-in, and I was 1 pound over. And then the people there was like 3 officials, and there's one OIC. I don't know who it was at the time, but she was like, "Oh no, he's good. He's good. We'll give him some time. He's good to go." And boom, the same coach, the same cornerman, whatever comes, and he's like, "Hey, scratch it. He can't fight." And then I wasn't able to fight in the Golden Gloves against the same one dude from KO King Box in the same gym. So I don't think it's a coincidence. But it's all right.
What a scrap.
This was such a great fight. A great fight. And I'm telling you, Mohamoud, we had seen you before, and really liked you, and we're watching you just seemingly, I thought, pick this dude apart. You just pick Solis apart. You fought so well in this thing. Was this your game plan going in? You want to kind of like break down what you have going on here?
So I fought in the Scrub Traps one, obviously, against Michael Rivera, and I knew that he would expect me to come fast like that because he was there and he was fighting right after me, and I seen how he fought as well. And he's a big hooker, big puncher, big wants to get inside. So I had a good game plan of just stay on the outside, keep switching stances, keep picking him, jabbing him, a lot of movement, a lot of punches. So, and that was my game plan. And then I got him frustrated. I knew he was going to come in frustrated and try to kill me with big punches. And my plan worked out almost perfect.
That was the other thing I saw is who's really executing their plan. Mark looks like he wants to get in there and really trade big hooks. And Mohamoud looks like he wants to box. Who's doing what they want to be doing? And especially toward the end of the second and into the third round, you saw him get frustrated, throw bigger punches, try to, and it was evidence that Mohamoud was implementing his game plan.
Yeah. I think it's right after this is when I back up and I catch him with the standing 8 count as coming up, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I seen him coming in big. I knew he was coming in big with the hooks right here. This is the standing 8 count right here. Boom, 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 duck, spin, boom. Yep. Standing 8 count right there. And then you can hear everyone just erupt and everyone knows, and I don't know.
Hey, right there, you're thinking to yourself, this is over. I've won this fight.
That's solidified for sure. And then at the end, he tries to punch me again and loses a point. So that's like ultra solidified. Like, I don't know, but and other people see things different.
Yeah, 2-1 on a questionable scorecard without the 8 count and without the point deduction.
Yeah, and there's the point deduction right there.
Look at you, cool as a cucumber. Yeah, I got this in the bag. I'm telling you, I'm telling you, Mohamoud, that was I love boxing, and if there's one thing I've been critical about this sport about, it is stuff like that, and to see it happen, down on the lower ranks of the boxing world, it's like, oh, then you definitely know. At the height of boxing, it's definitely even worse. And that's so disappointing to someone who loves boxing so much.
Right.
You mentioned some questionable stuff there, Mohamoud. And it's like, when we talk about it at this level, some of these kids, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, like we're talking about kids. If we're like got politics, deciding the winners and losers of 8 and 9-year-old boxing matches, we got a problem. That's the issue.
The way I see it is everything comes to light eventually, So those kids, if they're getting boosted up their records and all that, and they have these great camps and stuff like that, or they have people that know people that don't want to lose, like eventually they're gonna get caught up by someone else. If you're not good enough, you're not good enough. It's not, you can't sugarcoat fighting,
It's the nature of the game.
Yeah, it's like you're going to get that person hurt by putting them in there with someone else or something else, like, or maybe possibly.
They're not ready for, hey, Joe, you and I talk about one of those fights a lot. A guy named Alan Green fought Jadon Codrington. And Codrington, I thought, kind of had a boosted record where he fought a bunch of, mailmen and delivery paper boys and stuff. And had a bunch of knockouts and looked good at 10-0 with 10 knockouts, but he wasn't ready at all for Alan Green.
Right.
And that was from before the fight to through the fight to the broken neck and premature retirement, and the comeback. Yeah, he was never as good as his record reflected. And I think that's what you're saying right now. Is that
right.
That the nature of this game is that if you're any good, you're going to be found out. And if you're not, you'll be found out.
For sure.
No, Mohamoud, you said you only been boxing for about a year. I mean, you're 23 years old, so you've been boxing since you're 22. What's your long-term goal here?
So, honestly, the reason I started boxing, I like MMA. I'm an MMA guy. I watch UFC. I love
that too.
I just started. I did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu before, but I never did any striking and like kickboxing or any boxing like that. But I walked into the gym after Jake Paul beat Tyron Woodley, And I couldn't believe that he beat Tyron Woodley, 12-time champion. I watched Tyron Woodley win all his belts and everything. So I'm like, dude, if he can do it, I can definitely do it. So I went in the gym, sparred that first day, loved it, kept going.
Nice.
Oh my God. Wow. Listen, I'm also a Tyrone Woodley fan.
Wait a minute.
Hold on. I watched all his fights too. I never thought, hey, I could do that. Never crossed my mind. Not
But
once.
If Jake Paul can train like not too long and go and beat a 12-time
Fair enough.
No UFC champion. He's not a scrub. He's been knocking people out. He's a really good fighter. And then continue to do on all the other stuff that he did. I really commended that. And I was like, man, if he can do that, I'm going to go and do it.
Let's be fair, Joe. When we were going through that time on our podcast, I was pointing out people like that. I was pointing out that Jake Paul was going to inspire some folks that maybe weren't. Well, wait a minute. Look at now, he can be competitive with these guys, you know. And how long has he been boxing? Yeah, I respect that.
That's pretty cool to me. Yeah.
So then, Mohamoud, let me ask you: long term, would you like to pursue a career in mixed martial arts?
Yeah, so I tried to sign up for 2 fights in January in mixed martial arts. We would have been my first amateur MMA fights, but I didn't get picked to fight. So, but I definitely want to fight this year, as many fights as possible: boxing, MMA, kickboxing, whatever. And then once I do want to go pro, I'm gonna go pro in all 3. I'm gonna do kickboxing, MMA, and boxing as well.
Nice.
This guy's ambitious. Holy smokes!
For sure.
I like it. Yeah. Well, that's the hybrid. That's the new generation, Joe. We've talked about this happening. You know, this is fun. This is crazy. All these little parts coming to fruition.
Maybe we could see it
in 10 years or something. You know.
Yeah.
Well, it's, again, Mohamoud, you're such a young guy. You know, I mean, my goodness, you're not even in your prime years. You know, you probably 2, 3, 4 years from now will be hitting, you know, prime time Mohamoud Benamoor. God only knows what you'll be doing at that point. I will say this, having seen you fight now a number of times, I would not bet against Mohamoud Benamoor.
That's a good one. That's how I want it, you know. I mean, I got to get more on social media and get my fan base and everything built up. I don't have really any social media. I don't like social media, but I definitely want to get more into that once I do go pro and everything, for sure.
Yeah, you're gonna have to, because everyone's gonna want a piece of this. I mean, my God, I mean, just the ambition alone of I want to be in all 3. Like that's not. You don't usually hear that.
Oh, gotta get it somewhere. Oh, I'm gonna get a belt in one of the 3.
I love it.
Well, and 14 months ago he started, and he's got 14 fights against the opponents on BoxRec record are 36-6.
Oh wow, I never knew that.
4, 5, 6, 7 undefeated fighters out of the 11 they have.
That's cool.
So handing out first losses to 4, 5, 6 out of those 7.
It's also my style too. I think a lot of people are not prepared for my style. Like, I'm not a traditional boxer. I know you guys were in the commentary saying, "Oh, he's switching a lot," but that's how I fight. I like to switch it all up, you know, make people not be able to guess. Most of the time, I don't even know what I'm gonna throw. You know, I just go.
That's an interesting strategy. That's good to know going into your next fight, because, you know, again, we thought so much of your fighting style, and I mean, yeah, your ability to just switch stances and sort of go with the flow, whatever the position to be in any given moment, you just seem to adapt to it and you can attack from it, and that is incredibly impressive.
Yeah, that's my goal. Yeah, when I first came in, that everyone thought like I was never gonna make it far, and they're trying to make me like a traditional boxer. But the more that I try to fight like a traditional boxer, the more I get hit. So I just stay away from that a little bit, but I'll sprinkle some in. You know,
that's a good strategy. Don't get hit.
For sure.
Right. That's I mean, that's a good strategy. You know, it's funny. I sparred with Jared once in my yard for like 3 minutes, and that was my whole thing, was just he hit me the first time, caught me with a jab in the face, Muhammad, and I was like, yep, don't want that again, you know? And
Like
just like that, became very aware of like when things were coming to my face. It's amazing how quick you become aware of, I don't really want to get hit, but I do need to inflict some damage back. Again, if you're going to be a great fighter, there's the kind of fighters that absorb a lot and then dish out a lot, and then there's guys who are more elusive and are great counter strikers, and you seem to be the latter.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I definitely need to work on my inside fighting, I would say a little bit, but if I don't get there, it doesn't really matter, right?
They start on the feet and on the outside.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right, well, the main event, Scrub Scraps 3, Bout Time, March 30th, 2 to 6, Coventry High School. You and Victor Billups Jackson from Gifted Hands in the main event. Are you going to come out in your usual aggressive style? Do you know anything about Billups Jackson, or does it even matter to you?
To be honest, I'm not sure who that is, and I don't like looking people up. Honestly, the only reason I looked up Mark Solis was because what's it called? I was at his other fight at the first Scrub Scrap, so I knew I had the video on him on YouTube. So I was like, I'm gonna just go look this up, boom, and then that was where the game plan came through. But usually I just go with the flow, you know. I don't like looking at guy stuff and everything. I just go in there, and then if he's being aggressive or being crazy, I might be more aggressive, obviously, or it just depends on the guy, their stance, their aggressiveness, and I always try to be more aggressive.
Well, that's the other thing that got me about the Solis fight, is when he did get what looked like frustrated and did start letting his hands go a little bit, you were able to hit him back.
Yeah.
You didn't keep boxing and stay in this one mindset. You kind of switched up to kind of, I want to say, like, earning his respect. You know, you're not going to just stand there and haul off on me, because you're going to give me more time to hit you back when you do that. And when I do have a little extra time to hit you back, I'm going to put something on it.
Yeah, for sure. Just got to go with the flow of the fight. You know, every fight's different. Styles make fights, like they say. So you got to really just be calm and just try to figure it out as you go.
Yeah, I mean, right at the end of the day, you could prepare for someone anyway. I could prepare for a certain style, and if you assume I'm preparing for that style, you're probably going to show up, do something a little different anyway.
And I know, and I've tried to like have like a game plan, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But there was a fight that I've had that messed me up a lot, because I usually come out but like I used to, as soon as the bell rings, I'll just run straight to the person, start swinging, like full speed run. I did that at the first Scrub Scraps, you know, but I used to do that almost all my fights. So, and one fight I did that, and then the ref stopped me and made me go back. And as I went back, I'm thinking they're going to ring the bell again. And I'm literally like almost facing the other way, and they start the fight. So my whole game plan is thrown out the window, and then I have to rethink about everything else, and it messed me up a lot, you know? And I was like, damn. But that's why now I'm just go with the flow.
Jared, what do you think of the go with the flow method? Are you down with that?
If you can't adapt and adjust, you know, go through the total number of moves possible in a chess game. And by the time you get to move 4, there's a billion different things that could, and that's how boxing is. Like, a few moves in, you could realize, oh, this is something completely different than I thought I was going to get. And if you're not adapting and adjusting on the fly and changing your game plan, you can go in with a game plan, but as soon as that doesn't work, you got to have B, C, and D at the ready, because
I like to fill out the first round, and then second round I can have a good game plan. But like once I go back to the corner, I'm like, all right, yeah, I know what to do now. Boom. Or usually I gotta figure this out. Boom, throw a left hook more to the body or whatever, more feints or whatever it is. Figure it out.
Same. I'm allowed to give the first away. If you watch any of the Scrub Scraps, I'm allowed to give the first round away. Kind of. I've got 3 of them.
I don't like giving any away, but
well, I'm not going to get tired. So if there's one to kind of feel out and see what I'm getting and make the adjustments, it's the first. Because by the third, if I have to abandon all of them and get to game plan Z, it's
Probably not
just
going
go
to win.
win the fight. Yeah, just go win.
Oh boy. I'm gonna cue this thing up because when we end the podcast, I'm gonna run the end of the fight with Solis so everybody can see when the announcement was made what the reaction was like. Because again, I think it's important. I hope, Mohamoud, when you went back and watched it, that you watched through the end, that you watched the way people reacted to that decision, because everybody, I'm telling you, anybody whose last name wasn't Solis knew who won that fight.
Yeah, I don't think I watched all the way to the end, but I definitely watched up until that point, probably being taken away, the last one, and then. Yeah, and you can tell he was super frustrated. That's why he tried to hit me after the bell, because he knew he felt it. He lost, So he's like, damn, I got to get one extra in, And that,
I almost thought it was out of frustration that he did it, knowing he lost,
right.
and kind of being, forgive the term, everybody, but kind of being a bitch.
Sore sport.
That's a nicer thing to say, sore sport, but also a little bitch. No, we appreciate Mark Solis obviously coming out for the event. It was frustrating though. All right, so we'll see you in a couple weeks. Obviously you must be training right now, training hard, getting ready for this big fight.
Yes, sir. I'm ready. Yes, sir. Always ready. Try to stay ready.
Are you ever not training? Because you fight a lot.
I mean, I mainly I just spar a lot. I spar a lot, and I do a lot of I go to the regular gym and do a lot of training, and then when I go to the boxing gym, I like to mainly spar.
Can't argue with that. I mean, it's a great strategy. It's been working for Sean Strickland in UFC. That he does most of what he does. He loves getting hit, and he likes to hit people. Yeah. It's the best way to train for what's about to happen. You're going to get hit, and you're going to hit people. You might as well just stay in it. So, Mohamoud, I really appreciate you coming on here and being so candid. And I hate to bring up Simon. I know you're over it. I don't think I'll ever get over that. It was one of the worst things I had ever seen and I've made some bad decisions in my life. And yet still, that was the worst one I had been around. Okay. I'm on my second marriage, but that one was worse. Yeah.
But that was a bad decision.
But Mohamoud Benamoor, we really appreciate you being here today. You said, Jared, who's next week? Rosado's coming on next week, right?
Jose Rosario.
Jose Rosario. Jose Rosario. I look forward to that. For Jared Jones, I am Joe Aguirre. And like I said, we're going to go out on this. Here's how this fight ended at Scrub Scraps 2. Final match. Jared's jaw is dropping in the ring, so I'm going to go ahead and say that Mohamoud Benamoor has scored the upset of a lifetime against Mark Solis, but I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Right, that would be bad. All right, we've got our decision one last time from the ring. Here's Jared Jones to let us know who took home this main event matchup at Scrub Scraps 2 Unbroken.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of our main event by majority decision, boxing out of the blue corner.
I guess there's something about being a champion and having to be unseated. I thought Benamoor did plenty. I thought Benamoor did more than enough. I gotta say, I'm shocked.
I'm shocked as well. I mean, not only did I think he did enough to win, but he also, Solis was also deducted a point. But again, that's the old adage with boxing. You want to beat a champion, you got to really take it from him.
Wow, that was a stunning end to hours and hours of really fantastic boxing. Obviously, there was a couple of fights in there. I think we all agreed could have gone either way, but nobody was mad about it. This one I disagree with completely.
Yeah, we had some phenomenal boxing here tonight. These fighters were proving themselves, and what a way to end this wonderful night. We want to thank all of our sponsors again. What a